Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gemma. I'm a certified dog trainer. This is Chase, my border collie, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to teach your dog to walk backwards. Now this is a fairly quick video, there's not too many steps involved, but it does require patience while we build the understanding with our dogs. So walking backwards isn't something that comes naturally to them, but once they understand what we're asking them to do, then it's a fairly simple trick to learn. So I'm going to break that down for you now. Let's get started. Okay, so the biggest mistake that people make when teaching their dog to walk backwards is by going too fast, expecting too many steps, and having a dog constantly sitting down instead of walking. So let me show you what that might look like. So cheers. So for example, stand. If I just asked for that, and I start walking towards Chase and expect him to walk backwards, he's naturally going into a sit position. Now don't forget, with a sit, a lot of the time we're using our body language and gestures to kind of motion for them to go into a position and sit their butt onto the floor. So it can be quite confusing for dogs that when we're going into their space, we're naturally applying that pressure to them, and then they're more likely to sit down. So we don't want that. That is the biggest mistake that people make, is they're constantly walking into their dogs, and rather than their dogs walking backwards as we hope, they just sit down instead. So I'm going to show you how we prevent that. What you will need is some tasty treats to hand. So I have some fresh chicken here with me for Chase today. And all that we're going to do to start, the very first step of this, is we just need some motion backwards from the dogs. As soon as they give us that, we're going to mark. I'm going to use a verbal cue of yes today. I don't have my clicker to hand. We're going to use a verbal mark, and then we're going to deliver the treat. Now, this may just be a single paw backwards or just a single step backwards at this point. So let me show you what that might look like with Chase. So I'm going to start with my back to you so you can see Chase a little bit better. I want him in the stand, so ideally a dog would already understand stand by now. Stand. Now, at this point, stand. Right, I'm going to step towards, and I'm going to use my law to push him backwards, but then I'm going to bring my hand forwards to keep him in that stand. So I'm going to move, and see, just before he was to sit, so I'm going to use the law to kind of push him in the backwards motion, but before he gets too far and actually goes into a sit position, I'm actually going to bring my hand slightly forward to prevent the sit and mark and reward there. So let me just try. It's difficult to get him to do this in slow motion. So let's say we're in the stand, we're going to law backward. Just keep trying. We're going to law backwards, and then we're going to reward slightly forwards. Can you see? I need to deliver the treat before he goes into a sit. Sit is a very natural position for dogs that they tend to just do when they're not sure what else they should be doing. So let me just try that again. So we're in a stand. You see Chase is trying to get the treat out of my hand. That's great. So just have a slight grip on it so they know there's a treat in there, but they can't get to it. We want them in the stand. We want to law them backwards, and then we're going to deliver forwards. So we're almost rocking with them at this point. We're just applying a little bit of pressure to motion them backwards, but before they actually sit their butt down, we want to move them slightly forwards again and deliver the treat. Right, now that I'm not talking, I'm going to actually show you when I would deliver the marker. Now, it's really important that the marker is given at the moment that they are in the backwards motion, and then the treat can be delivered forwards before they go into a sit. So it's just technically quite challenging, this one, from a training point of view. There's actually not too many steps involved. So it's just be patient, get these foundations right. And then once your dog starts to build that understanding of what we're asking them to do and stop sitting down, then you're good to go, and we can start to build up quite quickly from there. So I'm going to show this one. So I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to deliver forward. You see that? So it's a yes when they're motioning backwards, as long as they've not gone into a sit, and then just motion them forward slightly just to make sure that they get the treat and that they've not sit down. Because the problem is, if you don't do that motion forwards, you may have delivered the marker yes when they've moved backwards, but then as you're delivering the treat, they may sit down, and we don't want that at this point, because then they're just going to learn to chain that behavior. So they're just going to start building their own chain, which is, oh, I'll just sit at the end of this and get the treat. The more we can prevent them from sitting down, the better, which is why when I give them the treat, I do it slightly forwards. So let's try that again. So we're in a stand, we're going to motion back, yes, and then deliver forwards. I'm going to do that one more time to make sure it's really clear. Stand. Yes. Okay, I hope that's really clear for you. The way that we build up from there is just simply trying to get more motion. So I would stay at that point for quite a while until the dog is showing that they confidently understand to move backwards without sitting down. Once we're happy that they can do that, we just want to start to build up the duration of how many steps backwards they can do. So again, we're going to have them in a stand. We're going to move backwards. Nice. And at this point, I would still, in Chase's training, I would still be delivering the treat slightly forwards just to make sure they don't get tempted to put that bum down. So you can see again, so we're in a stand and we're going to lure back. Yes. And then we're going to deliver forwards. So I don't deliver the treat until he's took a step forwards. But the marker was when he was moving backwards, which is what he understands is the behaviour that's earned him the reward. Okay, so let's just build up from there. So we're going to go, yes. And you can see how now he stopped sitting down because he realised that wasn't earning him any reward. And in fact, because I'm delivering the treat when he's in a slight rock forwards, he is not even tempted. So even now he's not sat back down. So we just want to break that bad habit. If your dog doesn't have that bad habit, then you're very lucky, but a lot will. Okay, so at this point, once I am happy that Chase is really understanding to move backwards and he's confidently taking a few steps backwards before I give the cue, now I'm going to start to deliver a cue word to the behaviour. So I might use back as my motion. I also like to start introducing a hand signal, which for this I point in the backwards direction, the direction I want him to walk into. So again, we're going to get him in a stand. I'm going to say back. Good boy. Right, you can see at that point, I move the lure slightly further away. If you're not there yet, keep the lure right by their nose. So let me show you that again, and I'll keep the lure closer this time. So we're going to have him in a stand. I'm going to say back, and then I'm just going to do everything the same as previous. So I'm still moving it slightly forward to deliver the treat, and I'm still keeping the lure to his nose. Good boy. One more time. So we're going to go back. Nice. And he's not tempted to sit down now. He's showing me he's confident that he understands to motion and walk backwards. Right, that point, all you need to do is keep rehearsing and keep practicing on that step for several sessions, introducing the cue word and, like I say, introducing the hand signal as you go. Now, be careful when you start to introduce the hand signal if you are going to use the same one as me, which is a point, because you'll watch here, this could be quite tempting for the dog. If I go back and use my hand, you can see how he's more likely to sit because I've lifted the treat higher, which for a lot of dogs, when you lift a treat up above their head, they're naturally going to sit down and look at the treat. So instead, I'm just going to make sure that I don't let it get that far at this point. So I'm going to, oh, come here. Wait, stand, wait, back, yes. So I've delivered the verbal cue, I've delivered the hand signal, but I've been really careful to make sure he doesn't sit down. So at this point, I was still feeding forwards. Let me show you that from this angle. So we're going to go stand, wait, back, nice. You see how I'm just delivering it forward. He's still not tempted to sit down at that point. Right, once you're really confident that the dog now understands the hand signal and the verbal cue, then we can start avoiding the lure altogether, so we don't need the treat and we can deliver that afterwards. So let me show you. Back. Yes. Good boy. And you can see he's not sat down because we've just done that foundational work to try and remove the temptation. Good boy. Waiting. Stand. Back. Yes. Good. If your dog does sit at the end, even at this point after a few steps, if they're tempted to sit, I would again just lure them forwards just prior to them doing so until they're really clear that when this behaviour finishes, they should still be in a stand. And let's try from this angle. Waiting, stand, back. See, now this is also another common problem. Sometimes the dog will kind of naturally get disorientated and go off to the side. Ideally, we want this backwards walk to be as straight as possible. So again, just build up the duration until they're confident in walking backwards in a straight line. I'm just going to go back a phase, try and build up my distance. So I'm going to use a lure this time. So we're going to go stand, back, back, Good boy. And maybe you just need to break it up twice. You can see I had a little pause because his butt was starting to rear and I wanted to just correct him to carry on in a straight position. Like I say, this isn't a natural movement for dogs, so it's just very common for them to either try and sit or for their butts to kind of wiggle and go off in the wrong direction. You could use furniture to help keep them in a straight line, but I just like to naturally shape the behaviour and build up that confidence and the body awareness of the dog, and that just comes with time and practice. So we're going to show one more time now to finish. So I've not got a treat in my hand. I'm going to say stand, stand, back, back. Good. Perfect. Very good boy. Break. Wait. Back. Yes. Good job. And there you have it. That is how to teach your dog to walk backwards. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. See you next time.